This is a short one, okay? But this is something that's very important to me because I work with AI a lot, all right? As you can see with what I do around here on the channel. Now, what's important about this is the ethical AI usage, all right? It's a tool, it's not meant to dominate us. Now, this woman should have had her right to her voice actually accounted for. She should have her work actually accounted for. Now, I approve of making these characters conversible so that you can sit there and have a conversation with Aloy in the middle of the game that has nothing to do with the game itself. If you're going to force people to be online all the time, why not make that experience worth it? If you're playing a single player game that doesn't require online connectivity for random updates, the map is going to spring something out of nowhere, giant chicken that doesn't belong, right? That's obviously not going to happen in the game. So if we're going to force people to be online all the time, this AI thing makes sense, right? Like you have the AI constantly going back and forth with searches in order to verify its responses to your random conversation that you have. You're traveling with Aloy, and all of a sudden you want to talk to her about baking. You want to talk to her about making rolls, what her favorite recipe of pumpkin pie is, for instance. That's perfectly fine. But where this gets into the trouble is that we breach an ethical level when we don't have the permission of these actors to use their voice in their creation. Now, the demo didn't use any of her performance, but she is worried that going forward, her voice and her mannerisms and her attitude that she gave Aloy that made Aloy so wonderful. I like Aloy number one, not from Forbidden West. That one's just a meat bus. I don't like that one. Get rid of that. I prefer Aloy from the Horizon Zero Dawn, the first game. Very fun character. Enjoy that character a lot. Absolutely would enjoy being able to have some kind of Skyrim style companion adventure with that character. Absolutely a fun idea. However, I don't believe that Ashley's work should be just kind of digitized into this and completely abused. It's why I don't like the idea of James Earl Jones's voice being just strapped onto any old Darth Vader helmet. I think that it's losing the human side of what we appreciate about entertainment. Yes, it makes things more expedient. I work with AI every day. The only way I can make these neat little songs and the graphics and the videos that I do for the intros and things like that and stuff we do on live streams is because of AI. All right, I'm no master talented guy. I'm just really patient with pulling the lever until you get something right. I understand how cheap this entertainment is, okay? It's why I'm perfectly fine with it not being allowed to be copyright. Okay? If you don't know that, generative AI cannot have a copyright applied to it. You really have to go around and do something to that with your own human intelligence in order to make it something that you can like protect legally. Otherwise, it's automatically uh, publicly owned, basically. I forget what the term is, public use or whatever it is. And that's what it is. Public domain, there it is. Because there's no way to copyright that stuff. Currently, even Suno is lying to you, lying to us when they tell us you can copyright that. The law is very clear. There's been several precedents set now that generative AI is not a creative enterprise. And I get that. It isn't. You can build a lot of stuff out of it that is a creative enterprise, but the generative AI itself, one to one, there's really nothing creative about it, honestly. How you use it is what makes it creative. This is what worries me is that you and I both know that these executives, directors, writers, they're just going to pull the lever till they get what they want. You're not going to get a unique performance. I'll give you a good example. I can't show it here because it'll get struck, but you remember Wesley Snipes in the Blade movie. And so what he did is that he ad-libbed one of the most famous lines in all of cinema history, okay? Just came up with it on the fly because this was the going trend of action stars, is that action stars would come up with a one-liner at the end of the fight, and they left that completely open. And so you see Wesley Snipes, and he's whipping his sword around underneath that fresh sunlight, and he's just defeated Frost, and he says, "Some motherfuckers always trying to ice skate uphill." And that you won't get that out of an AI. The AI is not capable of a new idea. Okay. It will say something to that effect. If you ask it to, it will create different versions of that and play it out however you like, but it will not have the creative intelligence to do that on its own, which is why Ashley is important to this entire equation. And what her question about this whole thing is that where is the actor going to end up? You and I have opinions about the actors themselves and their politics and their attitudes toward you and me, certainly. But as a profession, as something that Other people who may not share those politics, who may not be as dismal with their worldview, might actually value as a profession. What do they do? Where do they find themselves in a digitized world that just takes digital voices and throws all sorts of randomly generated stuff loosely strung together into a plot at us? Where do you find yourself in creative? Where do you find yourself creatively in all of that? Right? But I digress. Like I said, this was just a short one. I wanted to address this because we do a lot of generative AI here on the channel. So, once again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening to this. But please understand, we're at a crossroads. Once again, with AI, very quickly, we're at a crossroads again, and we need to decide: are we going to value the talent or are we going to value the tool? It's up to you. Let me know down in the comments below.